All right, Hinduism. The basic tenets are very similar to Buddhism. They have the same foundational texts, the Vedas, but unlike Buddhism, Hinduism accepts the authority of the Vedas and upholds the principles of the caste system, this kind of rigid social structure with the belief that you are born into a particular caste and and you stay in that caste for your life. But in both Buddhism and Hinduism, devotees search for a way out of samsara, this endless cycle of birth, death, reincarnation. And all Hindu art is based on this principle that we are all one in the same and that the divine is in us and amongst us. So that means that if you're trying to represent the divine in the visual arts, it often takes human form. This is where it gets a little tricky to call Hinduism, to call it polytheistic, because there are many gods, but really it's this notion that the divine takes on different forms and that the divine lives in all of us too, in all life. We are going to, though, look at a few key Hindu gods, including this temple at Deoghar dedicated to Vishnu. Vishnu is the god who represents the preservation of the universe. Vishnu is often shown as a god, or he has 10 different incarnations. And sometimes we see Vishnu depicted as Krishna, who is kind of one of his guises. This very early Hindu temple is made out of masonry, stone. It is a simple single cell shrine. But when approaching this temple, you would not go inside immediately, but instead you walk around the exterior, a kind of circumambulation. And on the exterior, we encounter different reliefs that illustrate the mythology of Vishnu. And the relief that we see on the right is Vishnu lying on the cosmic waters. This is, we see Vishnu kind of here, the large figure, he's laying on the serpent, his serpent Ananta, and he's dreaming about the creation of the world. He also, this is a guy who's leading a pretty good life here. We see him kind of reclined in this luxurious pose. And then at the bottom, we see this figure massaging his feet. That is his wife, Lakshmi. All right, our final religion this has been a kind of mad dash tour this week, is Shinto or Shintoism. The Shinto religion is closely tied to the empowerment of the Japanese emperors, who believed themselves to be the descendants of the sun goddess Amaterasu. The word Shinto literally means way of gods, and it's a polytheistic faith with a wide array of spirits that can embody natural objects and phenomenon as well as inanimate things. And this kind of animistic worldview, the idea that spirits can be in everyday objects, it still strongly preoccupies the cultural life of Japan today. And here I'm showing you two examples of, I think, this kind of Shinto worldview at play in secular Japan. We see a Harikuyo ceremony at the top. This is a ceremony, a memorial for broken needles, born out of the Shinto respect for the mundane, everyday, humble object. And then below we see Aibo. This is the robot dog that Sony invented as a kind of robotic companion animal. Let's take a look at the most important Shinto shrine, the Ise Shrine And the foundation of this shrine dates back to the year 4 BCE. You'll note here on the slide, I'm saying it's last rebuilt in 2013, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. Because this shrine is, so it's made, there are a number of different buildings. They're all surrounded by a fence that we see here on the right. And the site itself is what we're seeing here is the innermost sanctuary, and there's no public access here. And there's even if you Google photos of this, they're very hard to find because this is a very, it houses some of the greatest treasures of Japan. It is supported by the royal family. This is not a place with open public access. And what happens on a set schedule is that we see this main shrine here is rebuilt according to very particular rituals and guidelines. Let me see. Yes, I do have some pictures here. There is, the old shrine is completely taken down, and then a heart pillar is buried to mark the spot where the next shrine will be built. And then the old spot is covered with white rocks that we see here. The new shrine is built identically to the one that was just taken down. This ritual of taking down, rebuilding, moving the location slightly of the main shrine, this has been going on since the year 690 CE, hundreds and hundreds of years. And there's only just been occasional interruptions in this ritual process, and the last time it was rebuilt was October of 1913. What we see is the style and technique of ancient Japanese buildings. So we see these huge wooden piers, the pillars. We see a thatched roof, very traditional building techniques. And that is related to the notion of Shinmai Zukuri, which is the unchanged style. That with the rebuilding, you're not reinventing the wheel, but you are using the same techniques, the same cypress wood, and you are creating a shrine that is exactly 35 by 18 feet. The entrance is always the same. The raised porch is always the same to preserve this tradition. All right, this ends the mini lectures for this week. I hope that you found the empty outline helpful for your note-taking, and please refer back to these mini lectures if you have any questions or get in touch with me.